Hello and welcome to Uncle Cthulhu Reviews. So today I'm showing off a project which I've just finished, which is my American War of Independence 10mm British and Continental Armies. So they're fully painted, based, and banners are on them. I'm going to be doing some Hessians and some French as we allied contingents. But what I thought I'd do today is show off the armies that I've done, talk about the models and a few of the pieces to think about, and the rules I'm going to use. So primarily the rules I've planned to use these for are Washington's Army by Peter Pigg. And I've played those for the American Civil War rules, and I really like it. There's some other videos about it, being able to fight a battle in a day, in an evening, etc. So to show off a few things, so this is my British regulars. And when I'm painting 10mm models, I'll paint them on lollipop sticks. I will put down all the base colours. Then I will put Games Workshop's Agrax Ursiade over them top to toe. And then I'll pick out a few highlights. And generally these will be gold, bit of skin, and a wee bit on the, for the British, certainly on the tunics as well. And then I'll tidy up any facing colours as well. Now I've used paper flags there, as you can see. My top tip when you're doing paper flags is when you put them together, pinch them together at the end, and actually, as you can see, solid PVA. It's quite hard, and it gives the illusion of blowing in the wind as well. Another thing which I'd experimented with flags when I first did this project was making my own flags out of green stuff. And there we go. It was harder than I thought, so I'm pretty glad that I've got the paper flags. Other thing to note for this period is there was no Irish cross on the Union flag either. So I had great fun painting these guys. Here's my Scots. When I'm painting kilts in this scale, I generally just leave kilts green. The British always try and match the facing colours with the flag as well. I'm not too precious about flags for historical regiments. Most of my units will stand in for the units. Although this does show one of my bugbears for Peter Pigg is the Scottish Infantry Command Pack. It's 15 models, which is 3 castings of 5 models. 5 castings of 3 models, rather. So as you can see here, I've ended up with a unit with only 1 flag. Now I do have some Loyalist Militia. As you see, when I go over to the Americans, I have significantly less Loyalist Militia than I do American Militia, which is how it was in the war. Some First Nations. This one here has got a British advisor. Quite had fun with the British painting these guys, and also I've got some light infantry and a unit of grenadiers, of course. Cavalry, I've got some British dragoons in red jackets. Having done a lot of Napoleonic stuff, this was relatively easy to paint. Some green jacketed dragoons. Artillery. Now the artillery uniforms were very similar between the Continental and the British Army. So to differentiate, I've left the British gun limbers green, and the British artillery overalls are white. Whereas for the Continentals, I've gone for beige and more of a light grey colour for the, I said limbers, gun carriages. And then my commanders. So my overall general, I've mounted on a 2 pence base. I always like to do my command groups and commanders and round bases to differentiate them. And then my brigade commanders are on UK pennies. So I've got 4 brigade commanders, so I have a choice there. One of them is painted up to be a sort of a Hessian. So that's the British Army. So in terms of rules, Washington's army is based on bases. So for a regular unit, you're going to have, you can have as many bases as you want in the unit. Each base is meant to represent about, I believe it's 50 men. But it's just a base, it's just a representation. So 6 tends to be a decent number, and you get advantages and disadvantages for how you decide to set them up. So if you're advancing, it's much quicker to advance in a line, column, than when you get to fight, go to a line. There is a system of half bases. So as a unit takes casualties, a base can fire in full until it's gone. So rather than produce half bases, when I'm playing the game, I'll turn around a base to show that it's a half base, it's taking casualties, which is easier than producing a load of half bases. The other thing for disorder, what I will do is if a unit is disordered, and I do the same in black powder, is I turn the banner around to show it's disordered. Nice simple visual representation. And actually, whilst I use this for Washington's army, I easily use it for black powder. Again, it's just a number of bases. Now, black powder tends to have 6 bases for your units. I always find that slightly frustrating in that it means you have a even number, which means your standard's always going to be off center in the unit. So I much prefer, if I'm playing black powder, to use 5 bases for our regular unit, 3 bases for a small unit, and pushing up to 7 bases for a large unit. And again, that means, he says, that means your standard can always be centered. So that's the British Army, and a quick look over at the Continental Army. When I find my marker. So there's a Continental Army. I've already showed off the artillery. So again, loads of militia. So this big group at the back here, this is all my militia. I've got a couple of groups of Continental Infantry, early Continental Infantry in hunting shirts, Continental Infantry in uniform, Cavalry, Marksmen, my artillery and my commanders. And I find the Peter Pig models really nicely detailed. So if we get up to the front, yeah, focused. So that's militia there. The Continentals in hunting shirts. The cavalry, so I've painted 3 units of cavalry, 2 units at 3 bases and 1 unit at 1 base. I have a soft spot for the city of Philadelphia, and there was a Philadelphia cavalry unit which were about 30 men strong, so that's who they represent. And hopefully the camera is showing this, but you can get a load of really nice detail in 10mm. So marksmen I was particularly pleased with, and I really liked the models. I spent a lot of time putting a lot of detail into these guys. I don't know, I always have a soft spot for Continental Army blue and red uniforms. The flags he used were just the Pendragon paper flags cut out. Again, that's the Militia paper flag, Liberty or Death. And again, showing off some of those details on the Continental Command, the Militia. Oh yes, Rhode Island. Now I have no idea if this is a proper Rhode Island flag or not, but it stood out more. If you notice there, one of the things about the Rhode Island regiment was he used a lot of black soldiers. So I've represented those on the tabletop as well. And in terms of flags, I did a couple of greasewood flags for these guys as well. So there's one, don't tread on me. Maybe should have a rattlesnake on there, but the other one I did does have a rattlesnake, which is my own version of the Liberty or Death flag as well. Like I say, the green stuff flags were probably more tricky than I thought when I went and had a go, and the paper flags do the job that I want them to do. Oh, and one final wee bit, if anybody's seen any Outlander, there's a wee Highlander for the Militia there. Well, Continentals and hunting shirts in sort of a more brown Highland outfit as well, representing Jamie Fraser. But anyway, there you go. That's my American War of Independence in 10mm armies, and a wee bit about what the units look like when they're formed up and how we use them for different games. So there you go. I hope you're having a great hobby time and had some time to catch up on some projects and get some things finished like this. If you do American War of Independence, let us know what rules you use and why you like them. And I'll get these on the table and I'll do some battle reports talking in depth about Washington's Army rule set. But anyway, that's goodbye from me. Goodbye.